Hello, I am Bermunda. I would like to explain what neutrality means. This first relates to the entire population of Erra, and their unanimous opinion is that it is never compatible with neutrality to take an order from one state against another and enforce it. By the fact that the leaders of your home country, Switzerland, have taken over the sanctions of the European Union against Russia and, what is more, have had them carried out, not only has Switzerland's neutrality been violated in the worst possible way, but the state with the seal of neutrality has not only been rendered untrustworthy, but with this stupid action has lost its neutrality and put itself on an equal footing with those states of earth that do not know neutrality. But the fact that this was done by the Swiss leadership clearly proves that they are unfit for their position. They do not understand what real neutrality is in a state and private way, which is why I want to state this. As follows. Neutrality means politically that a state never joins another political organization. But if a need for cooperation arises, it is absolutely neutrally mutually contracted, and without any special clauses of punitive orders, etc., as also a special clause of immediate and indefinite neutrality means that no sanctions may ever be taken against other states, religions, private persons, companies or corporations, groups, communities, and organizations of any kind, a cancellation or termination of the treaty, either by one party or the other. Neutrality means that politically or privately, it never allows solidarity to be entered into with regard to a state, a party, faction, a person, a group, or a community, because true neutrality never leaves a path open for solidarity, because this means in every case and without exception of violating and even annulling or thwarting neutrality through partisanship. Neutrality also means that no sanctions are ordered, issued, or taken against the economy of any kind, against individual human beings, or against peoples, regardless of their nature. Sanctions are always based on hatred, revenge, and retaliation. Gewalt and coercion are never beneficial and only bring violence and suffering. Neutrality means that no use shall ever be made of any conduct which, in a political form or in a private way, ever interferes in foreign matters, dealings, and behavior, for it corresponds to an unwritten law of justice that every malicious and also violent decision, as well as all bad actions and other unjust and violent machinations, are solely those of those who devise these degenerations and interfere in things that are not their own, and moreover reveal an attitude, decisions, and actions that are contrary to all justice and humanity. Neutrality means never interfering in any wars or adopting their forms, be they political wars, military wars that create open killings and thus deaths through massive use of weapons, while clandestine and insidious killings are committed through economic wars, while cruel guerrilla wars and anti-regime wars lead to deaths by torture, etc. Wars of secession, colonization, and autonomy also lead to multiple deaths, as do civil wars. All these wars of every form claim victims, human lives, and none of them is right in every case. Wars and controversies of any kind correspond to actions and crimes that despise human lives and can never be associated with neutrality. Neutrality means never and under no circumstances imposing and carrying out sanctions against another state. Companies, corporations, groups, organizations, and private persons, because such correspond in every case to an economic war, and war of any kind corresponds to an injustice. Sanctions bring damage and hardship to the economy, and thus to the peoples who suffer from them, and contribute nothing to the fact that the powerful order wars and have them carried out by their armies. Neutrality means that human beings decide, act, and behave in such a way that they do not take part in partisan, ideological, political, or religious disputes, but that they only use their neutral opinion or knowledge and leave it at that, without insulting themselves and all others in a contentious dispute, causing anger and violence. Neutrality means never joining a group or organization that makes demands that are incompatible with neutrality, endanger it, or restrict the independence of the neutral state. Neutrality means that this must be preserved under all circumstances and must never be violated by any deviations or acts of solidarity, This must also not be allowed with regard to joining other states. Neutrality means that it must be maintained in all respects and never violated or even broken by any partisanship, be it political, private, or otherwise. Neutrality means that a neutral country must never interfere in the affairs of other countries, impose sanctions on other countries, or take over from other countries, just as it must not take part in wars of other countries, or interfere in them. Neutrality means being neutral under all circumstances, as indicated by the Latin ne neutrum, or neither. In precise terms, neutrality means balance, impartiality, and thus an impartial stance in a case of conflict between other states. Neutrality means the behavior of a consistently neutral way of thinking, speaking, and acting, both politically and privately, because neutrality includes not only the formal non-alignment of a state, but also the demonstration of a private neutral attitude. Neutrality means for a country that its permanent existence must be preserved for the purpose of independence towards the outside world, and also for the purpose of the inviolability of its own territory, as well as of its own legislation in every respect. Neutrality in politics means that in any case, the most important principles of foreign policy must never be dealt with outside of neutrality. Neutrality means that a country or human being must never take part militarily in armed conflicts between other states or take sides. Neutrality means, with regard to human beings, that they speak neutrally in all cases, never take sides unilaterally, and favor or disadvantage one side or the other through words, decisions, or actions, etc. Neutrality means that no military alliance may ever be entered into with another state, just as no military or political advice may ever be given. Neutrality means that general sovereignty and democracy must prevail in the state, that every opinion must be debatable, and that the very best solution must be found, and ultimately that which the majority decides by vote must be done. Neutrality means never interfering in foreign affairs of any kind. When it is necessary, only a personal opinion should be expressed, without taking sides, but all speech must remain neutral in every respect. That is, broadly speaking, what our law and order says regarding neutrality, but I can only give it in spirit because I cannot give the explicit wording without looking it up.